They say the most powerful magic isn't found in a dusty tome or a hidden cave. It's found in the corners of our daily lives, the way we set our intentions and build a life that feels as sacred as it does successful. Welcome to the Coven's Corner. We're here to bring you grounded, accessible magic every witchy Wednesday, and there's a seat at our table for you. So grab a cup of tea, and let's look at the world a little differently. Our circle is open. Let's begin. And welcome back to the Coven's Corner. Our circle is open and we are so incredibly happy to welcome you back to our altar today. I'm Kacey.
And I'm Dawn. Welcome back, everyone. It's so nice to sit down, take a deep breath, and connect with all of you again.
It really is. Before we jump into today's topic, let's do a quick weekly vibe check. Dawn, what's on your altar or your mind this week?
On my altar, everything's looking pretty golden right now. I brought in some dried grass from outside. I have some yellow jasper and a citrine point to catch the midsummer sun. On my mind, I've just been feeling that subtle shift of energy in the air. Like we're right at the point in New England where summer feels huge and full and warm. But if you look closely, the sun is setting just a little bit earlier every evening. And it's beautiful, but it's a little bittersweet. So what about you, Casey?
Oh, I am completely feeling that too. Yeah. On my mind this week, it's just been the sheer speed of everything. We work so hard to get to summer, then you blink, and the days are just secretly beginning to shorten. Yep. Between navigating the busy pace on campus and just trying to keep up with my son's summer energy. I realized this morning that I've been running so fast I haven't actually stopped to look at what's right in front of me.
Yeah, it's true, and it's so easy to do. We spend all our time looking at the next deadline or the next chore that has to be done or the next appointment that we have. We forget to look at the landscape that we're actually in.
Exactly. And that exact feeling is what inspired today's episode. As the wheel turns towards the first harvest, the fields look golden and full. But like we said, the days are secretly beginning to shorten. Today we're talking about counting the sheaves. We are exploring how to audit what you already have, break free from corporate scarcity traps, and firmly lock down the mindset of, I have enough.
I love this topic so much. It's exactly what the collective needs right now. So let's open up the discussion and dive right into the harvest.
All right. Let's get our first candle lit. So let's start by leaning into the psychology of the modern world. There is this incredibly heavy phenomenon right now. No matter how much we achieve, how hard we work, or how much we make, we are constantly plagued by this feeling that we're falling behind.
Oh, absolutely. It's a total corporate trap. Society feeds us this narrative that our tank should never be full because if we feel satisfied, we stop consuming and we stop overworking. It keeps us on this endless treadmill where we're always looking at what we don't yet have.
Yes, you hit that massive goal at work or you finally get a moment of peace at home, and instead of celebrating, your brain immediately goes to, okay, what's next? What am I missing?
So true.
It creates a literal leak in your energetic battery. But traditionally, this time of year, the season of Lughnasadh or Lammas, forces a complete halt to that mindset.
Right, because historically, you couldn't afford to just look at the future. You had to look at the field. Agriculturally, you had to physically count your sheaves of grain. You had to look at the storage bins and say, this is what we have reaped today. This is our reality. It wasn't about a hypothetical future harvest. It was about honoring the tangible proof of your labor right then, right now.
Mm-hmm. I think we desperately need that physical pause today. When we don't intentionally count our current blessings, we run on spiritual bankruptcy. We treat our lives like an empty cup, even when it's overflowing, purely because we're staring at someone else's mug.
Right. And that brings us right to the energetic truth of the matter. If you don't decide what enough looks like for you, the world will happily keep moving the goalpost forever.
Absolutely. So, it's really just a matter of taking a moment to take stock of what you have currently in your life and what's going on around you. Really taking that moment to pause and reflect. And, like we said, the farmers back in, the olden days had to live in the moment. They had to live where the harvest was going on right now. And we've lost a sense of that. We're constantly looking to the future, looking to the next thing, the next, goal, the next outcome. And we're not stopping and taking stock of what we've already accomplished and what we've already achieved. So this episode is really about kind of counting your blessings and really taking a look at what you've already accomplished and what you have going for you.
That's true. Michael and I have this conversation all the time. He's, we're both starting to think about retirement, and he's very much, there are a lot of things I want to do when I retire. And I'm like, there's a lot of things that I want to do now. So we have that constant battle, but it's the same thing. It's not so much looking towards what the next thing is that you have to do, but taking a minute to stop and look at what you've done or what you have or where you are, and having some appreciation for that, and patting yourself on the back sometimes because 10 years ago you might have thought you would never get to where you are now. There are people that dream about being in the spaces that we're in and the place that we're in. And I think we don't take enough time to appreciate that. So
yeah, I will say that nothing has shown me that more clearly than watching my son grow up.
Yeah.
He's 6.5 now, and
I can't believe
exactly. You blink.
Yeah.
You blink and it's over. So it's really about living in the moment, and he teaches me that every day. So
my little man.
All right. Let's move on to our next segment. Okay, so how do we actually break that cycle? So to pull ourselves out of that trap, we can look straight to the heavy-duty magical toolkit and use the actual mechanics of the season. So we're calling this the grain cutting ritual.
So this is all about utilizing traditional agricultural imagery, but applying it directly to our internal landscape. Think about the classic image of reaping grain with a sickle. You aren't just blindly hacking away at it. It's a highly intentional, sharp cut.
Exactly. In magic, a blade or a cord cutting visualization isn't always about removing a toxic person from your life. Sometimes the most important cord for you to cut is the one tied to your own internal weeds. Things like constant comparison, jealousy, or those persistent feelings of inadequacy that choke out your gratitude.
Yeah. It's like running an energetic audit, so to speak. So you have to look at your daily thoughts and ask, which of these thoughts is actual wheat that feeds my spirit, and which of these is a weed that is stealing my nutrients?
That is such a great metaphor. Thank you. So, for example, if you find yourself scrolling through social media or looking at a colleague's trajectory and feeling that sudden tightness in your chest, that is a weed. The moment you feel it, you can use a $0 visualization tool. So close your eyes and imagine that golden harvest blade and intentionally slice that energetic tie to that comparison.
And it's an absolute relief when you do it. So you're essentially saying, I'm reclaiming my field. I'm refusing to let my magic be drained by a lack mentality. You cut the weed, leave it to compost, and put all of your energy back into the sheaves that you've already gathered.
Absolutely. And it's this metaphor is such a positive thing because you're talking about things that are growing. You're talking about physical things that grow. And by internalizing that and, labeling our accomplishments and what we want as growing things, then I think that takes away from that constant comparison because you're not comparing flowers against each other by
Right.
who's growing faster.
Right.
You
Yep.
know, it's everyone is bloomed in their own specific time,
Yep.
and you know, there's no comparison between, you know, when someone else is getting to a certain place and where we are.
Yeah, I think that's a really great way to look at it. I mean, you plant an entire garden and not everything blooms at the same time.
Exactly.
Everything and everybody bloom in the time that's right for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, you know, we don't think more highly of a vegetable that's growing that takes longer to bloom, or think any more highly of one that takes a short time to bloom.
Mm-hmm.
Because in that regard, we understand that everything in the garden blooms at its own time, is
Mhm.
ready to harvest at its own time.
Yes.
We need to give ourselves that same leniency and that same understanding, and I don't think we do it nearly enough.
Yes, I 100% agree with that. And you know, there are all different types of plants too. You know, we're talking about wheat for you know, the purpose of the holiday for Lughnasadh, but you know, there's also like so many different types of like plants that you can compare to. So you know, there's some plants that grow under the ground and you never see them grow and bloom. They're just ready at some point, and you know, you're not seeing that journey, whereas other plants, you see the journey of their growth. So it's really just such a good analogy for our own goals, our own intentions, and what we have inside of us to give.
True. And it's funny, I was watching a thing today about growing potatoes in a bucket, and you never see what's growing underneath until you dump the bucket out and see how many potatoes you end up with. So yeah, I like that. It was
Exactly.
great.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. Let's move on to our next segment. So this feels like the perfect spot to throw in a juicy hot take right onto the kitchen table. Dawn, let's talk about satisfaction versus ambition. Can you be too satisfied? Does reaching a state of absolute gratitude and contentment completely kill your professional drive to move up the ladder?
I love this question, especially coming from my perspective in career services. Society wants us to believe that fear and dissatisfaction are the only things that motivate us to grow. They think if you're happy with your current paycheck or your current title, you'll just become lazy and stagnant. I think that's a massive lie.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I completely agree. From my side in student support, I see people burning themselves to the ground because they think ambition has to be fueled by anxiety. And, you know, but what if it's true professional drive, doesn't it come from a place, it doesn't come from a place of I'm empty and need to prove myself. It comes from a place of more like serenity.
True. When you operate from enough, you aren't climbing the ladder because you're terrified of falling off the bottom rung. You're climbing because you genuinely want to see the view from the next level. It changes the entire energy of your career. You're moving. You're moving towards something that you want to accomplish, and you want to see for yourself. You're not doing it because you're afraid you're going to be left behind, and people's expectations are that, well, you're here, but now you need to want to be here. Don't let that be your driving force. Be there because you want to see what it's like to be there. You want to put the work in to be there for your own self, not because society says, well, you're at this plateau, so now you have to go up here, because you don't have to.
Right.
But if you want to, it puts it in a whole different perspective for you.
Oh, that's so great. Yes, 100%. Beautifully said. Contentment doesn't kill drive, it kills exploitation. It means you can no longer be manipulated by the corporate carrot because you already know the value of the harvest that you carry.
Absolutely right. All right, so fourth candle time. So when we're talking about this shift in attitude, we're going to help you anchor this. So let's talk about a beautiful, physical, seasonal pantry upgrade. We're calling this The gratitude jar 2.0.
This is a super simple, tactical way to blend the mundane and the magical at home. So, all you need is a clean, empty glass jar. You can wrap the neck of it in gold, yellow, or orange thread to match the solar energy of the first harvest.
I'm so excited about this, to be sharing this, because it just, the visualization that you get is just amazing. So, we've talked about gratitude jars before, and I'm sure a lot of you know what a gratitude jar is. You know, you take a piece of paper and you write something down that you're grateful for, and then you fold it up and put it in your jar. And then maybe at the end of the year, you take them all out and read them so you can see kind of a snapshot of what your year's been like. So this is a little different. So we're leaning into the grain magic of this season. So keep a small bowl of kernels, whether it's popcorn kernels or whole grains or something like that, next to a jar. Every evening, look back at your day, and you're going to take one single kernel and assign it a specific solid thing that you are thankful for this summer.
I love the physical sound it makes when you drop it in.
Yep. Plink.
It's an auditory and visual anchor. It could be something big like a win at work, or something beautifully mundane like the perfect iced coffee, a 5-minute walk in the sun, or a quiet moment with your kids.
I don't know about you, but I don't know that you're much of an iced coffee drinker. No, but there is something to be said about the perfect cup of iced coffee, a glass of iced coffee. So that's always worth celebrating. So as the weeks roll on towards autumn, you can physically watch the grain line climb up in the jar. It becomes undeniable proof of your abundance. Whenever your brain tries to slip back into that corporate scarcity trap, you can look at the jar on your kitchen counter or on your altar or wherever you have it and say, look at all of these sheaves. I am taken care of and I am enough.
That's awesome. And honestly, this is such a great practice to do, not only with yourself, but, you know, if you have kids, you can practice that with your kids to teach them about gratitude and to teach them about, you know, being able to celebrate the wins of each day. Or even if it's not a win, even if it's just something that you're grateful for, you know, teaching them how to show gratitude and how to see gratitude in, you know, little things and in every day.
Right. And that in turn teaches them to become satisfied with what you have and who you are and where you are in your cycle, in your journey, and not always be rushing and pushing for the next thing, the next accomplishment, just because somebody else thinks that's what you need to be doing. So I think it teaches them to be very grateful for what you have right now. And again, if you want to go on and you want to move up the ladder or you want to change your level, then it needs to be because it's something that you want to do yourself, not because it's expected of you. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a great lesson for kids to learn.
Oh, 100%. And, you know, it's just also, it brings us back to being in the moment. And it brings us back to really just stepping away from the future planning, stepping away from that thinking of over there, and puts us back in the moment. And, you know, really being able to celebrate the present moment that you're in, because we're only guaranteed the moments that we have. You know, we're not guaranteed the future, so it's really important to remember the present and remember the moments that we have to celebrate those while we can.
And I think we need to honor ourselves in that too, because you know, we did the work with our family group, our friends group, whatever the case might be, but it needs to be a celebration of self too. So don't forget that aspect of it.
Yeah, wonderfully said. Thank you. All right. So the Gratitude Jar 2.0 is a beautiful healing practice. We cannot wait to hear how all of you use it, which brings us straight to our Consulting the Coven prompt for next week. We want to bring your immediate harvest wins right into the center of our circle.
Yes. So look back at your life over the last few months and then tell us what is one harvest win that you've achieved this summer that you completely forgot to stop and celebrate? Let us help you count your sheaves. Email your stories to covenscornerpodcast@gmail.com.
Awesome. We can't wait to hear your stories and celebrate your wins with you. So before we turn our candles off for today, let's anchor this entire conversation with our weekly spark. So we're going to do a short visualization. So you want to settle comfortably in your space. Let your shoulders drop away from your ears and let your eyes gently close. Take a deep, slow breath all the way down into your diaphragm and let it go. Imagine you are standing at the edge of a vast golden field of grain under a warm midsummer sun. Feel the solid earth beneath your feet, holding you up completely. Look down at your hands. They are full of beautifully harvested sheaves, the tangible results of your resilience, your hard work, and your love over these past months. With your next inhale, feel the profound weight of what you have already achieved. You do not need to rush to the next field. You do not need to prove your worth to anyone. Inside this moment, your cup is full. Take one more deep, empowering breath, feeling the absolute peace of knowing that you are safe, you are sustained, and you have enough. And when you're ready, gently roll your shoulders, feel the floor beneath your feet, and open your eyes.
Welcome back to the center, everyone. Thank you so much for sharing your space and your energy with us at our altar today.
Protect your peace this week. Cut away the weeds of comparison and keep counting your sheaves. You can follow our weekly altar updates on Instagram and TikTok at Coven's Corner Podcast. We'll be back next Witchy Wednesday.
Stay magical, everyone.
Be well, everyone. Thank you. As we close the circle for today, remember that the magic doesn't end with this episode. Keep looking for the magic in the mundane. If you enjoyed today's conversation, we'd love for you to connect with our Coven. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Coven's Corner Podcast and at www.thecovenscorner.com. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a Witchy Wednesday. We'll see you next time.